Okay, so last time we've talked about the types of software available to us in a computer, and we've seen the distinction between the different types of software. For example, programs such as this one, Android Studio, which helps us to create or to program Android apps. Okay, and we have others as well, such as Wireshark, for example, to analyze the traffic, the internet traffic or network traffic in and out of the network card in our computer. And also, we've seen some examples of games. For example, we have multiple games installed here, different software for different uses or use cases. So, and a different type of software is the operating system. So what it does is it essentially runs the computer. It utilizes the hardware of the computer in order to facilitate for us the use of this hardware. We cannot use the hardware without an operating system. Evidently, if, for example, you have no operating system installed on your computer, you cannot use it, you cannot benefit from it, you can't do anything with it. Okay, so the operating system is necessary for the operation of the hardware or the computer. Okay, so, and we've talked about how an operating system recognizes different types of files. For example, let us return to the example of last time. For example, here we have a text document. Notice it is suffixed with the .txt extension. These are called file extensions. Okay, they come at the end of the name of the file, and they signify they signify the type of the file. They define the type of the file. Just a moment. So these extensions signify the type of the file. They control how the operating system views the file and how the operating system will interact with the file. Okay, so for example, here we have a text document. We can write text in this document. For example, we can write the text in this document and we can save it. Okay, for example, we can rename this text document. Let's call it doc.txt. Now, the suffix .txt signifies that this file is a text file. Okay, it should be read using a text editor. Okay, we have Notepad, which is the default text editor for Windows. We can open it using a different text editing program. For example, we have Visual Studio Code. Let's try and open this document with it. Notice here we have the content, which is just the word text. And now, what will happen if, for example, I change the extension? If I rename the file, for example, let's change the extension to .mp3. Notice here Windows now recognizes this file to be a music file, and it prompted me to open it using the media player or VLC media player or Windows media player. Essentially, music playing platforms or programs that play music. Okay, but Notice here the file is unrecognizable because essentially the content of the file is not customary to an audio file. Okay, so now, for example, if I rename it again to a .mp4, for example, it will recognize it as a video file. Okay, it will prompt you to open the file with the video player. Okay, now let's see some other extensions. For example, we have dot. For example, we have dot .png or JPEG for images. For example, now it recognizes it as a .png image. For example, we have another extension for images, which is the JPEG. Another type of image, notice. Now, the other type of file that is very important is the executable file or .exe. Now, these files are executable files. For example, each and every installer for a program here is an executable file. You execute the installer and then it installs the software for you. Okay, so these are essentially the main types of files. For example, we have zip files, which are compressed files. We have PPTX, which stands for PowerPoint presentations. We have also, for example, we have different video formats. For example, MP4, MKV, for example. All of them are considered to be video formats. Okay, now let's talk about the paths or file paths. Okay, or paths essentially. Now let's go to this one. Notice I double clicked on the local C drive. Now notice here in this ribbon here, it gives you the path you have taken to arrive at this destination here. For example, each time I enter into a folder, this path grows. Okay, so so here we have the path of this folder. Okay, we have C, which is the drive letter, and then the folder, the users folder, and then under the users folder we have Idris, a folder named Idris, and then we have a folder named games. And now what is displayed before you now is the contents of the folder named games. Okay, so now as you can see,
Hi, sir.
yes, hello.
Hello, sir. I'm sorry, but could you repeat, like, from the beginning?
Yes, no problem. So we've talked about the file types We've seen a snippet of them last session. So we've talked about the different file types like .mp4, for example, .mp4, which stands for video file, a video file. We have different types of files, for example, mp4. Also, we have mkv, which is another video format. We have, for example, mp3 for music or audio in general. Okay, .mp3. It is suffixed with a .mp3. For example, if we, for example, here we have a text document, same example I gave earlier, a text document containing the some different words, for example. Now, if we rename this file, if we change the extension of the file, for example, let's name it v.txt, this is recognized by the operating system as being a text file or a text document, okay? Because of the .txt suffix, okay? So Windows will open it using Notepad, which is the default text editor for Windows. Now, if, for example, we change the naming of the file, if we rename the file, for example, let's leave the name as is, but let's change the suffix to .mp3, meaning an audio file. Now, Windows will recognize it as being an audio file, and it will try to open it using the media player. Okay? Now, notice the icon changed. Now, if I try to open the file, it opens it using the music player. Okay? Another time, let's try to change the name again, change the extension, rather. Now, let's change the extension to .mp4. Yes.
So, sir, we said that the computer can recognizes all the files through the ending of the files or the ending of the name.
Yeah.
The extension.
The extension. .mp4 stands
Yes,
for
example,
video
we can
files.
write. Yes, we can write, for example, a PDF, and we will see the icon changed for a PDF, like the red one.
Yes. For example, let's
same
try
with the
and
MP3.
do that just now. Let's try and create a simple Word document. Let's write a title. Let's write a title, for example, just a single page and a single title, bold, italics, and underlined, okay? For example, let's save this file. For example, let's browse, let's go to the desktop, and now here we can choose the type of the file. For example, the default type is for Microsoft Word is .docx, docs, okay? We can choose different file types. For example, let's choose PDF. Now the file is opened as a PDF. Notice here we have the title.pdf. Okay. Now Windows recognizes this file as a PDF file. Okay. For example, here we have our .pdf file. But, for example, it doesn't mean that this file will work, okay? Because this file was originally a text file, but I changed the extension, and now the operating system recognizes it as a video file. But notice here, if I try to play it, this file isn't playable. That might be because the file type is unsupported, the file extension is incorrect, or the file is corrupt. Indeed, the file extension is incorrect because I changed it manually from .txt to a .mp4, okay? But this is just to show you how files are differentiated by the operating system, Okay, so we have .mp4 for videos, we have .mkv also for videos. For example, it is also a video file. Now it tries to open it using VLC. We have other types of files. For example, let's give you, for example, image files, some image files. For example, we have PNG and JPEG. PNG. Now it recognizes it as an image, and .jpeg also. Okay.
Sir, for the image, what do we have to write?
.png or .jpeg. There are multiple extensions, but the most widely used types of images are .png or .jpeg. JPEG. Okay, there are a lot of file extensions. Okay, but we're just gonna see the main or the most widely used ones. Okay, so .jpeg is also a type of image. Now we have another type of file called the executable file. Executable file, for example, it is suffixed with a .exe. Okay, a .exe means an executable file, a file that is executable by Microsoft Windows. For example, let's go and let's write a simple program. You don't have to figure out how to write the program. Just for example, now this program just writes hello. Okay, its only function is to write hello. Now, for example, let's save this program to the desktop and let's entitle it with a hello.cpp. Okay, so right about now, notice here we have a message called hello. Now, the type of this one, hello.exe, is an executable file. Okay, it's an actual executable file. Now, if for example we try to run this one, the text file which we modified into an executable file, it doesn't work because the content doesn't match the extension. Okay, so Windows recognizes it as an executable file, but it can't open it because the content is not really executable, because this file is essentially a text file. I only changed the extension to show you how the operating system differentiates between files. Okay, so let's go back to this, for example, .txt.
Sir, for
Yes,
example, if I write the extension of an MP3 and there is an image, it's going to be a problem,
yeah,
right?
it's gonna be a problem. Yes, it's gonna be a problem. But I only changed the extensions to show you how the files are differentiated by the operating system. Okay, for example, this is a real executable file. Okay, called hello.exe. It's from the program we just written earlier, and it only prints the word hello. Okay, so let's try to run this executable file, which is a real executable file, as opposed to the fake executable file, which was a text file. Okay, so let's try to run this file. For example, here is the executable file. Notice here we have hello.exe, and here notice it prints the absolute path, the path of the file. We're gonna talk about paths in just a moment, okay? But notice here we have hello printed on the screen, meaning that this executable file works, okay? So it is essentially a real executable file.
Sir, can you explain more the executable file?
Yes, for example, the executable files are files that have to be executed by the operating system. Executed mean they have to be run by the operating system. For example, most program installers are suffixed with a .exe file. For example, let's go, for example, to a program. For example, now this program helps us to create bootable USB flash drives. For example, we're gonna download this program and run it to see the differences. Notice here we have Rufus 4.3.exe. Now this means that this is an executable file. Now notice the file is downloading, and the type of the file is an executable file due to the .exe file extension. Okay. Now,
Sir, what is the
yes,
role of the what is the role of the
the executable file,
executable
the
file?
executable file has different roles. It can be used for installing the programs, running the programs. It can be used for a variety of stuff because it can be programmed depending on what the programmer intended for the executable file to do. For example, I programmed a simple program just earlier that prints the word hello. Notice this is a small program that prints the word hello. Now the executable file, what it did, it did exactly what I intended it to do, which is to print the word hello on the computer. Notice here, okay? So other programmers, for example, this programmer here intended for the executable file to run the program called Rufus, okay? So for example, if I click on this program, now I'm prompted to give permission. Okay. No. And now, can you see the screen before I continue?
Yes, sir, we can see the screen.
Okay. So, fantastic. Now, let's go back. Now, let's see this program here called Rufus. This program is used to essentially prepare a bootable flash drive to install an operating system into a PC. Now, it does what the programmer intended it to do, okay? So the programmer programmed these buttons, for example, to select an operating system. For example, we select this one, and then we have to have a flash drive for this program to work, okay? So what I wanted to show you is that different executable files have different uses. It doesn't have to be a single use, okay? They just execute programs in Windows, okay? So, for example, most executable programs, or a lot of them, just are used as installers, which are programs that install the intended program into the computer. For example, if the way I installed this program here, the way I installed the program here is that I downloaded the installer like so. For example, the installer should be in the downloads folder. For example, here we have different executable files. For example, we have WinRAR. This is an executable file which installs WinRAR. Okay?
How
Are
is
we
that,
clear?
sir?
Yes, it installs WinRAR. It installs WinRAR. For example, let's reinstall this program. Now we're done. Now we can copy the shortcut for WinRAR. For example, this program. This executable file now installed the program in our computer. Okay? But now we can run the program using this shortcut here. Here we have the program. We can use it to compress whichever files we want. For example, we're not gonna go into this program, but just to show you an example. So executable files have different objectives. For example, the other executable file, the one we downloaded just a bit just earlier, didn't install anything in the computer. It ran the program. It ran the program directly. Okay. So now moving on from file extensions, if everything is clear, we can move on to file paths. Okay? Is everything clear? Or do you have further questions? So apparently, with no further questions, we go to the paths of the files. Okay? So file paths are essentially what the file system is a giant tree. Okay? So I want you to imagine this with me. A giant tree, for example, it has its head here. For example, we have the C drive, the drive, and now under the drives we have many branches. The branches are represented by folders. For example, this folder is a branch of the local disk C. Okay, same with this folder. Now this folder is a branch of the local disk C, and the administrators folder is a branch of the users folder. Okay, so for example, here we can locate different files. For example, let's go to users, let's go to Idris, and then let's go to desktop. Here we have different files. Now this file here, the path to this file is, for example, if we right click and click on properties, now here we have the location of the file. First we go to the C drive, and then we go to the users folder. Next we go to the Idris folder, and next to the desktop folder. There we find the file. Okay, so each file in Windows, or each folder in Windows, each file, no matter the type, is for example, has a path. that leads to it. Okay, so for example, let's go for example to this game folder. If we click here, we have the path, which is the D drive, and then the folder called games, and then Victoria 3 folder. Now we are inside the Victoria 3 folder. We have different files, for example, in this folder, sorry. Okay, so each and every file in Windows has a path that leads to it. Okay, and the paths essentially are subsets of the tree, or the file system tree. Okay, now why is it called the tree? Because we have different branches from the same source. For example, if we go to the C drive, which is the root for Windows, okay, we have different folders. Notice we have Intel, perf logs, program files, x86 users. For example, here we have different, essentially it is a tree. Okay, essentially it is a tree. First, for example, let's illustrate this with a text document. For example, we have the C drive, and then right under it we have different folders. For example, we have users, we have the Windows folder, and we have, for example, the program files folder, just to give an example. For example, and under each one of these folders we have different folders also, okay, or files, depending on what we need. Okay, so we have under the user folder we have the different users that use this computer. For example, we have administrators, admin, and we have also and we have another folder that is called public. Okay, for example, each of these folders is a subset of the users folder, okay, which itself is a child of the C drive. Okay, now notice it kind of looks like a tree. Okay, it branches out, and at the end you can find different files. For example, under this folder here we can find, for example, a file. Now, is it clear how the file system works in Windows?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in order for us to localize a file, for example, if we use this program here, it is called the Windows File Explorer. A file explorer, for example, this PC. Let's go to the D drive, Office 2021. We have this one, setup.exe. Now this executable file is used to install Microsoft Office into the system. Now if I click right here, it gives me the path to the file. First we have to go to the D drive and then to the Office 2021 folder, and then we go into another folder called Office _Pro _plus _2021 v219, and it goes on. Okay, so inside this folder here we have these files.
Sir, can you repeat how to find a file exactly? Can you repeat for us?
How to find a file? It is not used to find a file. It is used to just to, for example, if I want to know the path of a file. Okay, so if I want to know the path to this file, I only click here, and it gives me the path. Or, for example, if you have a file, you just right click and then you click on properties. Now notice here in under the general tab we have location. We have something called location. Here we have the file path. Okay, D drive Office 2021 folder, and then to the Office.
So, sir, what is the definition of the file path?
A file path is the path you have to navigate to find the file. For example, let's exit out of this here. For example, let's open the Explorer menu. For example, let's go to this PC and then let's go to the D drive. And under the D drive, here we have a folder called Office 2021. We go inside this folder. Here we have a folder and a file. Okay, so my goal is to find the executable file in order for me to be able to install this program. Okay, so I navigate to the inside this folder right here called Office Pro Plus 2021 underscore. Okay, and here is the file. Okay, so for example, if you want to find the file, for example, if I'm not sure that I have such a file, okay, if I'm not sure I have such a file, but I know it is generally inside this drive here, okay, so I navigate to this drive and then we can search for a file inside this drive. For example, we have setup.exe. Notice here it is doing a search. It searches the entire drive. It navigates through all the paths to be able to find the file I'm looking for. Okay, so you can search for files here. Notice here I'm looking for setup.exe. It found one. This is the exact one I'm looking for. Okay, so if I want to know the path of that file, I right click on the file and then I click on properties. Now the location is the Office 2021 Office Pro Plus 2021, and there I will find the file. Okay, so if you can't find the file, for example, if you have a hard drive that is cluttered or essentially not very organized, one way you would go about finding a file or finding a folder is you write the name of the file of the folder in this ribbon right here. This is used for search purposes. Okay, is it clear? Are we clear on this? Or do I need to repeat?
It's clear, sir.
So, sir, basically, it is like Google. You type in what you want to search for, and it will find it directly.
No, it searches the folder or the location you are in. For example, it didn't search the entire computer because I have a vague idea that this file is located in the D drive. So I don't need to search the C drive, okay? So what I did is I navigated to the D drive and then I wrote the name of the file I wanted to find in this search box. Now, seeing as I'm in the D drive, this search operation is only conducted in the D drive, okay? It isn't conducted in the entire computer, okay? So, for example, if I wanted to search the entire computer, I just write here, for example, what you would want to do is you put the name of the file here, for example. Here it gives you a vague search of the file, okay? So what you would want to do is you navigate to this PC and then search you search here this PC. This operation here searches the entire PC, both the C and the D drive, for the file you want, okay? So you go to this PC. This PC contains the all the drives that are in this computer, and it searches them all. Notice here it gives us the results it found. Now the one I'm looking for is the Office executable file, this one, Microsoft Office executable file. So I just execute the file, or I search, for example, properties D Office 2021 Office Pro Plus v 2021. For example, now I know the path. I navigate straight to the path, and voila, I have my file. Okay, so this is used to simplify or make it easier for you to find files that, for example, you forgot where they were or where you put them. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Or is everything up to this point clear?
No, sir.
Okay. So, just as a final note, there is another type of software called drivers. Now, what drivers do is they enable the operating system to essentially use the hardware available to it better. There are specialized software for us to be able to use the hardware available to us. For example, if we go now to the Task Manager tab, go to the Performance tab, notice here we have two GPUs. We have the integrated GPU, and then we have the NVIDIA MX 350 GPU. Now, this GPU essentially wouldn't show up here if the driver of said GPU wasn't installed in this system. Okay, so let me just say this, not all devices need drivers, and Windows now, especially Windows 10 and 11, do most of the work to try and find the drivers of the different devices or different hardware we use. Okay, so you rarely need to install any drivers. Okay, but for example, concerning these devices, for example, graphics cards, sometimes sound drivers, sometimes Wi-Fi drivers, you need to install them before you can use the Wi-Fi functionality in your device, or use the graphics card for gaming or for work, essentially. Okay, these drivers, for example, you can find them online. For example, MX350 drivers, and the results, for example, they take you to the NVIDIA website, for example, and you can download and install the drivers from there. Okay, seeing that NVIDIA is the manufacturer of the graphics card, so this is the official website where you can get the NVIDIA drivers, okay, and be able to use the graphics card to its fullest potential, okay. Now, we will have to go to the drivers tab, and then we can download the driver from here. But seeing as I've already installed the driver and the graphics card is operational, I don't need to do this step, okay. But when I bought this laptop, I needed to install the many different drivers. For example, the sound driver, the sound didn't work. For example, I had to search for the sound drivers.
Sir, you installed those drivers so you can have more functionality at the level of execution files?
For example, yes, they are execution files.
So you installed those drivers so they can work properly?
Yes, for so that the devices work properly. They will work without drivers. Some devices won't work without drivers. Some of them will work, but they won't give you the all the functionalities intended for these devices. If you don't install if you don't install the specific drivers of said devices, okay. So it is better for you to install the drivers for some specific devices, namely graphics cards, okay. Graphics cards almost always necessitate driver installations, okay. Sometimes sound cards or the sound sometimes doesn't work if you buy a new PC without an operating system installed. If you do a clean operating system install, more than likely some laptops can in some computers, Windows will be able to auto detect and install the specific drivers for the sound and Wi-Fi and whatnot, but sometimes it doesn't, so you need to install them manually, okay. But once you do, like I did here, your computer should be able to function and work perfectly, okay. Now the drivers, what they do is they enable the operating system to fully utilize all the functionalities of certain hardwares, okay, of certain hardware. This is their purpose, okay. Is it clear?
Sir, could you
Yes.
please repeat the role of the driver?
The driver is a piece of software that enables the operating system to better utilize certain hardware. For example, if I didn't install the sound driver for this computer, I wouldn't be able to use the speakers on this laptop, okay. For example, if I didn't install the Wi-Fi driver, I wouldn't be able to use Wi-Fi in this laptop. For example, if I didn't install the graphics card driver, I wouldn't be able to use this graphics card. Notice here it is 22% in use, but if I didn't have the driver, the graphics card wouldn't even show up here, okay. It wouldn't be able to detect it. Windows wouldn't be able to detect and use the graphics card if I didn't install the drivers of said graphics card.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, so you are using the drivers in order to increase the abilities of a microphone or a graphics card or something like that.
Increase the abilities, or in some cases you won't be even able to use them if you don't have the drivers installed. For example, for this graphics card, if I didn't have the drivers installed, I wouldn't be able to use it, period. Not only to increase the abilities of this graphics card, no, I wouldn't be able to use it without drivers, okay. So Windows has a feature called driver detection and installation. It can detect most drivers and install them. Most, keyword most. It doesn't work all the time. For example, if I didn't install this graphics card driver, I wouldn't be able to use it, and Windows couldn't detect it and install it. Okay? Is it clear? Is it clear? Or do I need to further illustrate this point?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
How about you, Miss Mary?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, so as long as it's clear, we can end the session right here until we meet, inshallah, next week. I will upload this session shortly to YouTube, and you can find it also in Moodle if you use that platform. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so take care.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.